Amen. I probably got a familiar scripture to you, but I just want to share it with you, and I got something rolling on the inside of me for you. It's found in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. It says, "We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and against powers and against rulers of the darkness this age and against spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places." Now, it starts off by saying we don't wrestle with flesh and blood. We don't wrestle, we don't fight with people. But it does, and I'm not trying to be spooky, but it does say we deal with spiritual forces, and maybe if I could say it this way, spiritual influences. And I think every one of us, you even take James and John, I believe it was, the brothers. One day Jesus was passing through a city, and nobody showed up to meet him. Nobody showed up to greet him. And James and John came together, and they said, "Do you want us to call fire down out of heaven?" And almost like Elijah did, and consume the city. And Jesus made a statement. He said, "You don't know of what spirit you are. You don't know what you're being influenced by." And the truth is, there are things that try to influence our lives, and there are things that try to influence us. Depression is an influence. Discouragement is an influence. And then you've got any number of sins or any number of habits that are influenced. And there may be spiritual forces, and there just may be things that we're dealing with in our lives. And the idea here that Ephesians is talking about, we don't wrestle with people. Our fight is not with people, but I believe our fight is twofold. I believe part of our fight is against those spiritual forces, and then I think sometimes our fight is to a degree with ourselves and some of the things in ourselves that we're dealing with. And I just wanted to start off this week by challenging you. As I was praying over these devotions and sharing with you, I felt like there were certain men that maybe you've been beat, maybe you've had some things you faced, maybe there's some things you've tried to overcome, and maybe you've tried to overcome some influences in your life, whether they were spiritual influences or maybe just some battles in your life. And maybe what you've done is you've just sat on the side of the mat. I used to wrestle, and one thing I can say I always did. I didn't win all the time, but I'd at least step out on the mat. And I felt like there were those that you just sort of sat off to the side and said, I can't win. I'm just going to give up. I'm not going to try anymore. And I felt like I wanted to start off this week by saying to you, I want to challenge you. Get back out on the mat. We're going to talk this week about some ways that you can fight and you can wrestle and win, but I wanted to challenge you. Some of you, you've just sort of given up, and I've almost seen this in the spirit. It's almost like you've sat down and say, what's the use? Well, I'm telling you, there is a use and there is a reason, and I'm here to tell you, you can win. And I want to challenge you this week to get back out on the mat. And I want you to see all the videos this week, because I'm going to talk about some ways that you can win.